Does NIL money corrupt college basketball teams? We'll talk about that and what they said on Field of 68 about that. And we'll get into talking about the Hoosiers playing the Golden Gophers tonight, what to expect in that game. All on Indiana Sports Connection. Let's get into it.
Pretty simple. I win.
After three on the way.
Hello, guys, and welcome to Indiana Sports Connection. I am your residential anchor, Aaron. Thank you so much for being here, and thank you so much for being part of this Indiana Hoosiers community on here. I cannot thank all of you enough, especially the people that watch my videos every day from the very beginning. I cannot thank you enough. The video banned by Brian Evans is killing it in the YouTube circles, so thank you so much for all of that. But today we're going to get into talking about Minnesota, what we have to look forward to tonight in the game. And you may be one of those people you're like, you just hate Indiana basketball. No matter what, I saw some people in the comments saying, you know, they're having a hard time watching the games. It's easy to tap out. I'm a creature of habit.
Dads, they always tend to be creatures of habit.
I can't do it. I gotta watch every game. I gotta see what happens. I'm gonna root for the team every single step along the way, and I'm gonna watch what they're doing every step along the way from now until the end of my life. So there you go.
Wow.
But if this is your first time here, hit that subscribe button down below. Thank you for being here and being part of Indiana Sports Connection. And we do have a contest winner at Reggie441950. At Reggie441950. You have won the shirt from Rally House Home Field Apparel. So email me at Hillbilly Monkey. What's that email address?
And that's Indiana Sports Co. at proton.me, and email me and we will collect your prize.
So thank you to everybody who watched that last video and subscribed. And the next giveaway is coming up at 1,500 subscribers. So also, the channel is brought to you by BetUS. Use my promo code Indiana125 and save 125% on your first 3 deposits. Count it. That's your first 3 deposits. You will save 125%. That is free money from Indiana Sports Connection. Just use that promo code Indiana125 and redeem that free money. So without further ado, you subscribed, you hit that thumbs up button, you did all that good stuff. Thank you so much for being here. And now, let's get into talking about the Indiana Hoosiers. All right, so we got Minnesota tonight, and I'm going to talk on here a little bit about Tony Robbins, because I have watched a ton of Tony Robbins videos. If you listen to Tony Robbins, he always says, change happens in an instant. And that is so true. Change always happens in an instant. Now, you may have been thinking about this change for a long time. You may have been relegating about this change for a long time. But the actual change itself, the decision-making process of making a change happens in an instant. That's why I don't give up on this basketball team. I don't give up on them because we never know. Some of these guys might get it together. We never know what might happen. I saw one comment on the video from a couple days ago on the band video, and they were like, oh, what are you going to do when the Indiana gets to the Final Four? It's like, then I'll be the happiest man alive, I guess. But we got Minnesota tonight. And so Minnesota, in the KenPom rankings, Minnesota sits at 111. So just for context, Miami of Ohio was 171, or they're 171 right now. So until the last 6-7 minutes of that Miami of Ohio game, it was touch and go. There is no game that this Hoosier team will play that I feel confident about when we see the lackluster product. I mean, until we see them come out in a game and really just from the get-go, take the bull by the horns and really just get after it, it's kind of hard to have like real concrete faith. Hillbilly Monkey, let's pull up those stats from Minnesota and see who some of their biggest scorers are. Because, yeah, you got Garcia, and he was on the team last year. Leads and rebounds with 7.4 rebounds, leads with points. He's going to have a tough time. I mean, he's going to be going up against our front line. And so these are games where we should dominate rebounding and we should dominate down low. But we also we need to prioritize 3-point shooting, but I am done talking about that. Like, this team is never going to prioritize 3-point shooting, and I can say that till I'm blue in the face, and it's just not going to happen. If we look over at some of their stats, flip those stats, 3-point field goal percentage, you do have Mitchell Jr., the guard. I mean, he shoots 44%. You got Fox, the forward. He shoots 50%. And you got Garcia that shoots 35%. As a team, they shoot 29% on threes. But this is where Indiana's got a guard. And Minnesota, will they jack up a lot of threes against Indiana? We will see. Miami of Ohio went dead cold in that game. And I know I didn't really talk that much about that game but there were some revelations in that game. I mean, one thing I think Luke Goody should start. I think Luke Goody should start at the 2 guard, or maybe they should start Rice, Galloway, Goody, and Renew or Ballo has to sit. I mean, these guys in the Miami game, they were only in there a short time because it was so obvious that they were struggling. So why keep going? Why stubbornly put that starting lineup out there over and over again? I'd like to see a change there. Will Mike Woodson make that change? This would be the game. There's always like a dichotomy to all of these Mike Woodson games. It's like we play a game, we don't shoot any threes, then we play a game against a really weak team, and he like makes some subtle adjustments. Just enough that some people in the comments will be like, well, you see, he's making adjustments. But then if you see it go right back to, like, if we're going to dump the ball into the post in this game, then it almost like feels like you're right back to square one, doesn't it? Tell me what you think in the comments down below. But that's what, like, I think when I watch this team play, like, it's a cycle like this where the effort's not good. Then they'll get a little bit more effort when they're really their backs are against the wall. They'll put in more effort, and then it slacks off when they think they can. Look, and I hate to bring Curt Cignetti into this, but you got to be process-based and never get up or down based on results. I mean, come on, we've heard it all year. It's not that difficult. You just have to have a foundational piece. And yeah. And does Indiana have that at coach? But yeah, wrote down here, play the guys who care. Just play the guys who look like they give a shit. I would be beyond, and we're going to talk here in just a second about how these high-priced NIL teams, what is happening with them. I thought this insight from this guy on Field of 68 was really good, and we're going to play that clip here in just a second. But I do feel like Indiana is playing with fire in a lot of ways where they're not performing against the lower teams. And I was saying this right from the get-go. I think in the second or third game, it's like if they perform this way against some of the better teams. Now, Minnesota's 1-11, but they're definitely a team that could give Indiana a hard time, you know. And we saw Providence give Indiana somewhat of a hard time. That was not just like a cupcake game for Indiana beating Providence. It wasn't a cupcake game beating Miami of Ohio. So when you see that, it worries you because, you know, it's like there are tough games coming. We just want to see the team perform. But there are tons of NIL teams who are struggling that have high payrolls. And this guy talks a little bit about what that inside the locker room, that is where it's really at. And I thought it was just a really great point. Hillbilly Monkey, let's roll that clip.
It only takes one, Fanta, to mess the whole thing up. And we're not in those locker rooms, right? We're not in there. We don't know the insides. We're just watching and we're critiquing what they're running on offense, how they're guarding pick and rolls, different things. We're critiquing what we see. But I said it earlier in the show, you can play the game of basketball a lot of different ways. And look, the offense that Kentucky's running right now with the ball movement and the passing and all that, we love to see it. It's great. But in terms of what's going on the interior of your locker room, when guys are getting paid this amount of money, okay, someone could be upset. And if your team is not connected, I don't care how much money you have in NIL, I don't care how talented your roster is, but if your team is not connected, you have no shot. You have no shot. If your staff is not connected, you have no shot. If you have a member of your staff that thinks this guy should be getting paid more money and he's the coach should be playing him, whatever it may be, like, you have no shot. It's all about that connectivity. So I think when you see some of these teams that have these high payrolls, I think it's a lack of that. but we're not on the inside. We don't see inside their locker room, so it's hard for us to say it. We want to critique what they're running on offense, but when you have a talented team that's not performing at the level that they should be performing at, there's a lot of layers to unpeel in terms of that.
Yeah, there are a lot of layers to unpack what's going on with this Indiana team. If you think about transfers and all this stuff, when you transfer, you have expectations. And when those expectations aren't met, then you have disappointment. And when you have disappointment, you have disgruntled players. And when all of this involves money, I mean, I could definitely see on the inside, like, people thinking, why is Leo getting this much money? Why is Galloway getting this much money? Why am I getting this much money? When somebody thought I'm supposed to be an NBA prospect, and I don't know how Kanan Carlisle, does he think he's an NBA prospect? And now Mbako's kind of had some games where he's not performed well, hasn't really got his shots, but he doesn't really get his shot. And then all of a sudden, so we don't know what's going on in the locker room. We can only guess, and I'm just guessing. And, you know, we can go by what we hear, what we see, what we feel, what we see on the court during the games, and then we can go from there. Do you think Indiana, what do you want to see from them in this Minnesota game? I mean, I really want to see them come out from the jump with intense defense, where in the first 10 minutes of the game, they really just like hammer home on the team and just break their will, just like the football team. Like in the first 10 minutes of the game, break their will. And let them know that you are here, you're going to play defense. I've been watching a ton of Ole Miss, and I'm telling you, that team plays some tough defense. I mean, they just cut guys off. They use their bodies. They get in front of guys. You really got to body guys up and the Indiana's got to play a more physical style of defense at the point of attack. When guys are driving into the lane, you have to make it physical and difficult for them, or else they're just going to do it over and over. And that's where we're struggling. Straight line drivers, kickouts to the three. We're getting in rotation way too early. That's the other thing I want to see. Indiana goes into their rotation like immediately. As soon as the guy brings the ball up and makes like 1, 2, 3 passes, they're easily getting Ballo matched up on somebody out far away from the basket. And then once Ballo is far away from the basket, it's just very easy to get around him as a guard. So that's what I've been seeing. A lot of what's going on. They don't need to switch. I would just like to see them go to a more simple style of defense where they can play fast. You can tell the players are thinking out there at times. And if you're thinking, you're not going fast. Anytime you're thinking, you're not going fast. That's just the bottom line. They need to really, really boil things down in a way. Can they do it? I still have faith. And you know what? Just like Tony Robbins says, we're bringing this full circle. We got to. So, Hillbilly Monkey, what do you think is going to happen in this game tonight?
Carved from the sands of the Wabash River and formed into a monkey lamp that's sold at Home Goods. It's the Hillbilly Monkey Perspective on Indiana Sports Connection.
I'll tell you one thing. I mean, I don't know what's going on with Carlisle. I mean, this guy come in. I read so much, watched this guy playing at Stanford, and he was like their go-to guy. And now he's just out off the bench, and Galloway's back in. I mean, and I agree with you. You got to play Goody. Goody should be playing like 35 minutes a night. This is one guy that's showing heart out there, and he's doing all the things, and he's doing these things, and he's really kind of galvanizing the guys together. And he might be the one guy who just don't give a crap about money or any of these other crap that some of these guys care about. And then he can be the one to be the tie that binds these guys together.
I agree. I think Luke Goody and Anthony Leal, those guys seem like they are just doing more than anybody else out there, even though physically they're like the least physically able players probably on the team. Got a lot to look forward to in this game tonight, and yeah, just ready to watch the basketball team and see what they could possibly do. And I'll be here for it the entire time. Thank you so much for joining me on this episode of Indiana Sports Connection. Until next time, stay classy out there, Hoosier fans.